a 10. All right. Well, hey, everybody. I'm going to start by sharing my screen, and we're going to start in a PowerPoint presentation. But I want to tell you up front, just so that you're not concerned, we will not stay there long. I think it's good to share a few statistics and things, but I don't want to bore you. And I know I don't like to spend my 30 minutes in a PowerPoint presentation. So just give you that little disclaimer. Oh, that's interesting. It's sharing on the wrong screen. Let me fix that really quick. It should be on the view. Yeah, it's not seeing this monitor. That's really odd. Okay, well, let me do this. You guys will get a sneak peek at the future slides. We're just going to go ahead and go with it. So today we're going to talk about winning more listings and referrals with Google, as you guys saw on the invite. And before I jump into the meat of that, I just want to cover a few things. One is, who am I? Why am I here? Why am I talking to you about this? And so I am a guy that's been in real estate tech for about 12 years. My partner in this business, Scott, who, if you guys end up connecting with us after, he's been in for 11 years, and I have a background in predictive analytics, marketing automation, lots of different farming techniques and tools, email automation, SDR, name it, right? Across the gamut, our ISA, as many of you would say it. And what I realized through that is that there's just way too much tech, right? There's so many things that you guys are being introduced to and that you're leveraging that sometimes it's difficult to know which ones are working and are you getting the return and the conversion rate? And something we noticed offering this technology and working with agents across the nation is there was a consistent thing that the folks that had their online brands established and built had a significantly better conversion rate than the folks that didn't. Right. And with the market shift and everything that's been happening, and first it was COVID shifting to online and digital, and then it was, things shifting and slowing down, and depending on your market, that looks different in each place. But there's been a lot of uncertainty in the real estate space, and the combination of those things has made this more important than it's ever been before. And so that's where we're focusing our time and energy. Let me do this just because I think this will help. Let me share this screen, and that will probably actually end up working out better. Okay. So are you guys able to see stats that matter? Is that what's on the screen now? You get a thumbs up? Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. So stats that matter. A few things to take into consideration when going through this. 73% of consumers, they will choose a business online without ever visiting the website. Right. So you guys all have probably amazing websites, and I'm sure the company provides them, and they're valuable. I'm not saying don't have a website. You should. But Google has trained consumers to have all the information they need and connect right there through the Google panel, through search results. If you search, how tall is a mountain, it's going to give you the Wikipedia results right there without having to click on Wikipedia, right? You guys have all probably noticed this, and it's transitioning more and more in that direction. Another one is it's 69% of consumers, they only find relevance in reviews that have been left recently. So 2 to 3 months is what they see most people value. If it's older than that, they usually, don't see as much value. They'll say, okay, well, that, is what happened then, what's happening now. And that is true for the real estate space as well. And then 87% of consumers, they are going to Google you when referred to you before they call, right? So if you have a friend or, past client, whatever it may be, they give your information to someone else. It used to be they would have one of your business cards in the center console, wrote your phone number down on a napkin, and that person just would have called you. But now they're going to Google you. And is that it? No. There's a next step, right? They're not just going to Google you, but they're going to Google your competition. The next Google search is typically top real estate agent in your area or whatever it may be, right? And they're going to compare you, just like we compare products on Amazon, we compare restaurants on Yelp. Google is where we compare a real estate agent. So if you're competing for a listing appointment, when you get that referral, or if somebody's just looking for a top agent in the area, Google is really the place for all of those things. And it's critical that you have your best foot forward, that you're the clear choice on Google when somebody takes any of those steps, right? And really, it's a 3-part strategy, which we're going to cover today, and we're almost done with the deck. And the 3 parts are, first, it's having an optimized Google business profile. A lot of folks have them, but they're a bit of a shell. And in some cases, they actually hurt you more than they help you. And we'll talk through what does that mean. And this will get a bit technical. I'm going to go top to bottom on a profile, step by step, what's important. The next is a really good review strategy. And there's lots of places that are fighting for your reviews, saying you should get them here, you should pay us for this service so we can automate review requests. And all those are great. And there's a lot of value in those. But having those tools or going through your manual process and directing those reviews to Google first is the best strategy. And I'll show you why as we go through this presentation. And then the last piece, and this is the piece that's least known, is there's this thing called business citations. And basically, it's a fancy way of saying business listings. So it's places your business information is online, right? And that's Yahoo and Bing and Amazon Alexa and Apple and YP.com, right? All these different sites. And that's really an important part of the strategy. If you had bought into a Chevron dealership, you know, or whatever it was, or you had a Subway franchise that you'd signed up for, that would automatically come with it. But in the real estate space, it doesn't. Right. And so this is something that typically you have to go and do individually. And we're going to talk through that, what it is, why it matters. Right. So we're going to cover those three things today. Let me shift my screen sharing. I'm doing this like strategic bouncing back and forth between screens here. All right. And then I'm going to share this screen now. Okay. So we're going to go live. So first, what I want to do is I'm going to go to Zillow. It's all your favorite site, right? Probably not. But the reason I'm using Zillow is I think it's a great example when I'm talking about people who have a brand online or care about their brand online, but have forgotten an important step. So I didn't want to beat up anybody on this call. So rather than looking some of you up and saying, okay, this is what you did right, this is what you did wrong, we're going to beat up some agents on Zillow. And I picked the area that I'm in. So I live in the Bay Area, forgive me now, but in California, in Pleasanton. And so I pulled up that city to show real estate agents in this area. And on Zillow, it's going to stack rank them by most reviews and most relevant. And you know, above that's ads, but we're going to ignore the ads. We're going to go to the organic results. These are the people that are standing out on Zillow today. And I'm going to give you three examples. I'm going to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Right. And we're going to compare those against a fully optimized profile, and I'll show you the difference. And we'll get a bit tactical here. So this will give you some really good examples of what we're talking about. And so this is first, we're going to focus on the Google business profile. Okay, so I pulled up Tim. Tim is #1 on Zillow. As you can see here, he's got 256 reviews, 5 stars. You know, the guy's doing some great business, right? Obviously. When I go to his Google business profile, I instantly see a picture of him. If I met him before, if I had been a past client looking him up, whatever it may be, you know, I'm going to have that instant recognition. So he did a really good job, right? He's got 20 reviews on Google, which is good. He has a lot more on Zillow, but it's not bad. And he has, you know, a really complete profile with products and posts. He's posted some videos on here, some good content, right? So that's an example of a good profile. Now, the next person on this list is Dan. And so I pulled up Dan. And when I search for him in Pleasanton, we've got a bit of an issue. There's nobody, right? So I can find his LinkedIn, I can find his Zillow and Facebook, but you know, if I go to his LinkedIn, am I going to be able to call him? Is that going to be an easy thing to do? Probably not. I'm going to have to hunt and search and go through Zillow and start hunting through these sites in order to connect with Dan. And there's no Google business profile, right? That's the bad. Right. So not having a Google business profile from a consumer perspective makes my life more difficult. Now I have to go and hunt and find this information. And you're also not controlling what people are seeing. And just so that you guys know, if you are on mobile, which a lot of search now, and it's heading more and more in this direction, is on mobile, the Google business profile isn't to the right of the other information. It's the top 3/4 of the screen. Right. So it's the first thing and it's significant. And you have to scroll down on the page in order to see anything below that, to see these other sites. Right? Google's really focusing on this. But for Dan, that wouldn't be the case, right? It would go to all these links, and on my phone, I would have to now click and navigate these websites that may or may not be optimized well for a mobile phone when the Google one's built perfectly for it, right? So big difference there, even a bigger difference on a mobile experience. And then the third that I want to show you, which was actually #4 on Zillow. I skipped Rick because he has a pretty decent profile. I didn't need to show you two in the same. So Jackie Jackie is the ugly. So I'm sorry. I hope Jackie isn't here. Nobody's friends with Jackie. I think I avoided that by using my area. But Jackie has a profile, which maybe you would say, oh, well, that's good. That's better than not having a profile at all. But Jackie's profile has the default image. So when you create a Google Business profile, it's going to have the street view of the address that you use. And this looks like a house. Maybe it's a townhouse or something like that. And that's Jackie's profile picture, right? That's not ideal. No logo, no descriptor on the name and title, very limited information. It doesn't have hours. I mean, this really is a shell of a profile. And this is worse many times than not having a profile at all, right? So those are your three scenarios. Now, as I'd mentioned, if I were searching for any one of these people, so if I've been referred to Tim or Dan or Jackie, my next step would be to search for a top real estate agent in Pleasanton, because again, we're doing that comparison. So as I go to do that, obviously at the top, you're going to have people that are paying for Google screened ads, and then people that are paying for PPC advertising, right? And most consumers know that those are ads and they just pass them by, and they go to this section right here, which is the first section that you can show up in for free. And the reason people like this is they trust it more, because these are Google's actual results, like who Google thinks is the top real estate agent in Pleasanton, California, not who paid for me to see that, right? So especially if you're in this space or have an understanding of how Google functions, this is what the area that's really, attractive to people, that they trust more. And this really is the modern day Yellow Pages, right? And so it's all digital. It gives us tons of information, makes it really easy to connect. And there's what they call the Google 3-pack, where, 3 top ranking people show up without having to click in. And then I can click in and go more businesses or click on the map and see that there are tons of people, many places, thousands of agents competing for this position, which is why it's important not only to have a profile. So like Dan, he doesn't show up on here at all. Jackie, she shows up, but she's like probably page 10. Right, she's hundreds or thousands of agents deep because she has a basic profile. And Tim, he's showing up probably around page 3 or 4, I think, last time I searched for him, which isn't terrible, but it's not where you want it to be. And so what I did here is I wanted to go to one of the top agents. So Gina, she's at the very top of the list. She's in the Google 3-pack. She's showing up everywhere. Now, she wasn't top on Zillow, but she's top on Google. And, obviously, you guys are muted, but, if I were to take a survey right now and say, what's more important, to show up top on Zillow for an agent search or to show top on Google, I would hope you all would agree Google, because the Google search volume for real estate agents, not for homes, for real estate agents is about 100 times higher. So you're going to have way more opportunities ranking high on Google than you will on Zillow. Now, if you can rank high on both, even better. Right? But this would be the priority. This is the most important profile you have in the real estate industry, right? And so now I want to go top to bottom on Gina's profile. And I'm going to show you, what did she do in order to show up at the top? What are the secrets here? And then also we're going to call out some things that are important to consumers, because it's not only important for people to find you, but you need them to choose you, right? So if you're competing against another agent for the listing, you need to be the clear choice, right? Or they're doing that comparison after they were referred to you. So the first thing is Gina has this great picture, like Tim did, where, I can see her. It's right there in front of me. She's got a nice smile. It's like, okay, Gina looks like a nice person to work with, or I recognize her from working before. So that's fantastic. But another thing Gina did that Tim didn't is Gina has a ton of images added to her profile. And you might say, well, why does that matter? Nobody's going to click on that. What matters to Google? Right? And these images drive traffic to her profile. An interesting statistic is that Google business profiles that have 100 or more images, they get 520 times more phone calls through Google than profiles with less than 100 images. There's some magic that happens around the 100 number, and people don't know this, right? And so it's a great tip. Take this one away, write it down. Don't do it while we're talking, but write it down, 100 or more photos. And then you want your photo, your headshot, close up, not in a distance, not standing way back against that tree, but where I can see you close up. You want that as the cover photo. That puts it in that position at the very top. Now, one other trick that we do for our clients, and we are a full service agency, so if I start talking about this and you're like, that's great, but I'm never going to do that. We do this for people, right? This is a service we offer, but I'm going to teach you guys a bit how to do this in case you are technical or you have the time and you want to do this yourself. So what we would do is we would take all of these images and we would load them into a third-party site to do something called geotagging. And you can search that on Google, do it after. But geotagging is basically taking the longitude and latitude of an address and embedding it into the photo and then loading it into the profile. And as a real estate agent, many times you're going to use interior and exterior home photos to get to that 100. It makes it really easy. Trust me, if it was a doctor or a chiropractor, it's much harder to get 100 photos. For you guys, it's a breeze. So you geotag those photos before loading them to the profile, and you add your office address or your home address if that's what you're using for the Google business profile because you're working from home, and then you suppress that address. You still embed it into the photo and then load it into the profile. You don't want it to be the geolocation where those photos were taken, right? And that's what helps drive traffic back to your site. That's why you get more phone calls when you have those photos, because those photos out there on the internet are showing Google you've got a ton of info, which helps with your rankings. They're also driving traffic, right? And getting people back to the profile. So it's serving you in multiple ways. So that's step one. Obviously, add a photo of your logo and assign it as the logo. Also, a lot of times I see this as blank, where I see that people put their headshot as the logo and it's like this tiny little circle. Don't do that. That's a big mistake. So this should be an actual logo. Okay. And I do recommend you guys use your business logo for that. You want to build that that clout, that My Home Group reputation. Being big in the area and having lots of folks representing that brand are going to make you guys the clear choice and help everybody across the brokerage. Next is name structure. Gina didn't do this. Gina's a broker, but what a lot of people will do, if you're a realtor, let me actually have the structure already here. If you're a realtor, you may want to consider adding realtor to the title. Now, you got to be careful with what you put in a title in the Google business profile, because there's a lot of regulations around this, and what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do, et cetera. And so Google allows you to add professional designations. So realtor works just like doctor or any of those type of professional designations. And the nice thing about having realtor added to this profile is the common search term. A lot of people will search realtor in my area, top realtor, just like they would search top real estate agent. It's fairly equal between the two. And so this gets you to show up on that. You're already showing up as a real estate agent because you have that in your profile. That's the category that you're in, but realtor is not a category. So that's one thing you may consider. And then having your brokerage name after that, right? So this is a really good name structure as you're going through that, just as a tip there. Next piece is reviews. So I talked about reviews being really important here. Google gives you a short link when you set up a Google business account that you can use to take people directly to this page when you ask for reviews. So you're not going to want to ask for reviews and say, yeah, just search for me online and go to my Google profile and leave a review, right? That's a lot of work for somebody, and they're less likely to do it. You want to send them that link. They click on it. It takes them straight to this page where they can put the stars, write the review, and hit post. Makes it very simple. You'll have more people complete it. Now, a side tip is I really do recommend that when you have a new client, early in the process, you bring up that, you'd be asking for a review at the end. You might say something like, hey, if I go above and beyond your expectations at the end of this transaction, would you be willing to go on Google and give me a 5-star review? It really helps me build my business. And of course, at that point, they're going to say yes, but also they're going to know that you're very intentional about working hard and creating this really positive experience. So I think it's a good thing to do anyways, just from a psychological standpoint in developing that relationship with your client, but you're going to have them more likely actually complete it versus just asking them at the end, and it's the first time it's come up. So little tip there, when we work with our clients, we create a whole template and a process for this, but those are a few tips just to kick that off. Another thing that a lot of people don't realize, and Gina's done a fantastic job here with this, is it's just as important to have a quality reply to a review as it is to receive a quality review, right? So when people just leave the stars, it's not very meaningful. When they write something, especially if they write something with some depth, that's way more valuable to both Google and to the consumer, right? The review aspect of your Google profile, it impacts your rankings on like top realtor in my area search by 17%, right? So it's not everything. You're going to see people with 200 reviews under somebody with 20 reviews, because it's 17% of it. But that 17% has a big impact. If you have a fully optimized profile, it's what makes the difference of being at the top of page 1 versus being on page 2, right? And so having quite a few reviews, having recent reviews and getting them on a regular basis, like some, a steady cadence. And then most importantly, a quality reply. And don't fall for the trap. A lot of people want to do a reply like, thank you so much for the kind words. That's not a good reply. A good reply, like when you have Sharon, leaving this great, thoughtful, long review for me is, hey, Sharon, working with you and Tim was amazing. You guys were a wonderful family. I'm so glad I was able to get you into your dream home. Really excited to get together in a few months once you're settled in and check in and see how things are going, right? That's a fantastic review. It shows that I'm connected with them and their family. I have a relationship. We're going to continue staying in touch, right? So thoughtful replies. And a lot of people ask me, oh man, I got a review 3 months ago or 6 months ago. Can I still reply? Yes, I would still reply. I would go back at least a year, maybe further, and reply to those reviews. They will get a notification when you reply to them. Google will say, hey, you just got to reply to this review and here it is. But you're saying kind things, right? It's thoughtful. And so, it's just another positive connection with that past client. Maybe they go, oh, Nancy's been thinking about selling their home. I should send her over to Gina, right? It's just a good reminder. It won't hurt anything. So yes, catch up on that. Do those thoughtful replies. Next section you want to have as complete as possible. A lot of people will have the website link and address and hours and phone number, but what a lot of people miss is the appointment link. It's rarely here, and I audit a lot of these profiles. And if we go across, Tim, no appointment link. Jackie, certainly no appointment link. She has almost no information, right? So Gina, she has this appointment link. And again, having the most robust profile possible makes Google trust you more, which helps in your rankings. This is why Gina is showing up at the top, right? And this link could be a link to a contact page on your website, or if you use a calendar tool like I do, I use Calendly, then put a link to that and people can actually schedule a meeting with you by clicking that link, right? Great little tool to have on there and way for people to engage. The next section is products. Let's go back to Tim. So Tim has products, but he's using properties. Now, I don't necessarily recommend this. One of the challenges with using properties is, one, there's a lot of requirements if you're going to advertise a property, and I'm not a compliance guy, but you're supposed to, at least from my understanding, update the status every time it changes. So if it goes pending, if it goes sold, like that needs to be updated instantly. Otherwise, you're in violation, right? Things aren't correct. And so that's just another thing to maintain. Also, me as a consumer, maybe I'm looking for a property under $1 million. I realize this is a very expensive market, but if I'm looking for that under $1 million property and he has a 1.4 and a 1.7, that's not as attractive to me. I might think, well, Tim's probably not my guy, right? He's looking at these higher end properties. He's not going to want to deal with me, right? So that could turn me off. So what I prefer is to have one that is more evergreen products, things like home buyer consultation, home seller consultation, custom home value analysis. And in order to create a product, you need a few things. You need an image that you guys can create. You can create it on Canva or whatever it may be. Again, if you're our client, we do this for you. You need a title, a description, and then a get offer, right? And it does have the option where you can have dollars. Like you noticed it had, $1.6 million on that property. I just leave that blank on these because there's no cost. And I don't want to have 0. I'd rather just be blank. So I just leave that field off. And then you can have this be call now, or it can click to a link. Like if you used HomeBot as an example, that would be a fantastic tool for this offer to click to your HomeBot page. They fill in their information. Now they're getting quality information with your branding and they're in your system. Right. And it's a great way to get people to engage. So I recommend having at least 3 products. We do 4 because we're overachievers, but 3 at least. And then keep in mind the last products that you create are the ones that are going to show up in the carousel. So if you're doing more than 3, do your favorite 3, the most valuable 3 last, because a lot of people aren't going to scroll. They're just going to look at these and decide if one of them is for them. Right. They're going to get the most action by far. Now, all those go into categories. So when you're creating that, you create these categories and you associate the products with them: home buyer services, seller services, home value. It could be home search. I could create products that are for specific communities with an IDX search for a certain home value, right? Homes with pools in this community could be a product, and it takes you to that page specific for that. Next section is Q&A. So Tim, no questions, no answers. Jackie, same story. Gina has 11. So a lot of people don't realize this. You can go into Google, it's actually in their policy, and create your own Q&A, just like you can on a website. You ask the question and answer the question. And so you want to ask popular real estate questions with keywords, and keywords is like an SEO term, but it's commonly searched words, right? Do I need to stage my home? Who pays for a home inspection? What does selling a home as is mean? Right? These are all popular questions. And then you answer them right in that profile. And now Google's reading this information. It's seeing that you have lots of valuable information to share, but also when people are searching for things like this, Google might associate your profile now and say, oh, they're looking for this. Well, this may be a good person as a resource for them, right? So it helps, again, with those rankings, makes a big impact. So we recommend at least 10 questions and answers. Again, we do 11, same reason as before, overachievers. So next section, a lot of people ask me about this. Well, how do I get my Zillow and Facebook to show up? It's not showing on my profile and I don't see a place to link it. You can't link it. You can't force this. Same thing for social media links. I can't go and say, this is my LinkedIn, this is my Facebook. Google has to figure that out for itself. And the way you do that is through this thing called NAP, name, address, and phone number. And so if the name, address, and phone number are exactly the same on your social media profiles as on your Google profile, Google many times will make that association and add it to your profile. The reason I say many times is Google's a beast and it kind of does what it wants to do. And it can be a little difficult at times, but it usually will over time. And don't expect things to happen fast on Google. It's usually a few weeks for anything to really, connect the dots. So be patient when making those associations. But a lot of people on their social media platforms don't have an address. They just have a city, or even don't have a city, right? Have all that information, make your profiles complete and make them match. Of course, you want a bio and you want to post. And posting on Google, a lot of people don't even know this exists, should be done 1 time per week. That is the optimal for Google. You can do it more, it won't hurt you. I just wouldn't do it less, right? So a post a week will keep Google happy, seeing that you're adding regular content on a regular basis. Again, Tim was adding videos, I believe, and other information. For here, people don't like it, they don't share it, right? They just view it. It doesn't get a lot of action. So don't overthink it. You don't have to create content specific for Google. Just repurpose content you're using in other places. Okay, just make sure it's business related, not a bunch of personal stuff. Okay. All right. So let's pretend like that's all done, right? Now what? Right now you need that to be in as many locations as possible and you want it to match perfectly. And so I did a scan for Gina and we looked at Gina's profile. She has 62 locations or citations that match Google perfectly. So Apple and Bing and Amazon and all these different sites, they have these profiles like Google does. And some of them are significant, like Yahoo and Bing. They have a whole side profile that really mimics the Google experience. And that's 10% of the internet traffic goes to Yahoo and Bing, right? And so if you're not on there, which most agents aren't, you're missing out on some direct search, some referrals looking for you on Yahoo, and they're having a negative experience because you don't have that profile set up, right? But also Google searches the internet just like I did. And it's going to see 3 things. How many places is your business listed online? How consistent is the information to what's on Google? And how recently were all those profiles updated? And based on the return of that information, it's going to determine how much to trust your profile. And if you have no information, it's actually better than having conflicting information where, things have old addresses and old business names and an old phone number, right? That's the worst scenario because now Google's like, well, now I know I can't trust you and it's going to suppress you in the rankings versus having a lot of profiles that match perfectly. Then it's going to go, oh, well, I know this information's right. And so that person's going to rise in the rankings up to the top. Tim and Dan and Jackie do not have this. Gina does. Gina is at the top of the list. They are not, right? This is a big differentiator. Now, that's a hard thing to do on your own, to go set up 62 profiles manually and then maintain them and update them every month so they show they were recently updated. So we use software to do this, and that's the way I recommend doing it. Yext is the company that we use, YEXT, best in the business. We get their premium package. It manages it all for us. Now, Yext will make you sign a year contract and they'll charge you the same thing we do. So if you're interested in that, I would actually recommend going through us. We don't charge a contract and then we'll set it up and manage it for you versus you just get a shell of an account. But there's a bunch of companies that will do this for businesses like yours. Use one of them versus, going through Yext just because it's going to be a lot easier for you. And one less thing you have to deal with and you don't pay extra for it. So, but business citation syndication, right? Having this information everywhere has a big impact on people finding you organically online. Being listed on Google as a top real estate agent has a huge impact. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the deck. We're going to finish this up Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to have to do that again, aren't I? I'm going to stop share and share this other screen since my computer is not cooperating today. Okay, so we'll go to the next slide here. Okay, tips and best practices. What do we cover? Create an optimized Google business profile to stand out, not just a profile, but an optimized profile. Go through every one of those steps, ensure it's comprehensive. Keep your name, address, and phone number consistent across all sites, all those syndication sites, but also all of your social media sites. You want that to be as perfectly of a match as possible. Get real reviews and get them consistently. Bring it up early, have a process for it, send people that short link, right? Make it easy for people. You'll get many more reviews. And then respond to every review in a thoughtful and meaningful way, especially the negative reviews. And sometimes you'll get a negative review from somebody that has nothing to do with you or your business, right? This may be someone saying, oh, hey, my refrigerator broke after 2 months and it was terrible. And you're like, oh, have an empathetic response. I'm so sorry you had this negative experience with your refrigerator. I am a real estate agent though, and I think you left this on the wrong profile. If you could remove it, I would greatly appreciate it, but I hope, this gets resolved for you, right? That's a great response. Now, maybe it's just, 1 star and no words. Look the person up. If they're not a client, address that. Say, oh, hey, Nancy, I see you left me this 1-star review, but I looked you up in my database. And I don't think we've ever spoken, and this may have been left on the wrong profile. I'm so sorry you had a negative experience somewhere, but if you could please remove that, right? But be empathetic, right? If you actually did something wrong, own it and apologize publicly. And to get those removed, Google's not easy here. You have to request to have it removed over and over and over and over again. And usually after doing it 7, 8, 10, 15 times, Google will remove it. But you have to work at it. It's not going to usually happen on the first try. And then the last tip I have for this piece is start posting on LinkedIn. Most agents, I do scans and I meet with people one-on-one often, and we do these reviews and we look at your social media as a part of that. And most people, almost all agents, are not using LinkedIn. And the agents I know who are, they get more business from LinkedIn than any other social media platform. The people that are active users on LinkedIn almost perfectly match the NAR statistic, home buyers and sellers list, like what that person looks like, the age, the income level, the profession, right? They're more likely to buy a second home. They're more likely to have an investment property. They sell more frequently because promotions and relocations, right? Great group of people to stay in front of. Don't miss that opportunity. And things to expect as you go through this process. Google often will require a mailer when setting up a new profile or changing information, especially an address on an existing profile. Okay, if you're going to work with us, don't do that. Don't go requesting mailers or setting up profiles, have us do it. But if you're going to do it, just expect it. Watch the mailer. It looks like junk mail. It's just like a little postcard, right? Don't miss it, or you'll have to start the process all over again. Accounts are suspended at times when your information doesn't match what's on other places, especially your website. So if you start doing creative names and putting top real estate agent in the title and all this stuff, it's usually going to get suspended, or they're not even going to let you set it up and launch the site. And so be careful of that. Make sure you're matching what's on the website. Reviews, Google reviews, although they're the most important place and valuable place, the last 2 months, they've been doing a beta on this algorithm and analyzing reviews, trying to have more legitimate reviews and suppress the fake ones. And they've done a pretty poor job, frankly, with that. And a lot of real reviews have been suppressed. We have a blog. If you go to our website, svconsulting.info, at the bottom, there's a blog, go to it. There's a bunch of tips on how to be careful on reviews and get reviews that actually show up. But even when you do it all right, lately, those have been getting suppressed too. Now, the good news is typically, 3, 5, 10, 15 days later, they're often showing up, but I've got some that are 2 months in that still haven't shown up. Google knows it's an issue. It should be fixed soon, and those hopefully will all show up at that time. But keep at it. And then there's special rules for real estate and lending markets, and Google reps typically don't know them. We spend a lot of our time working with Google, sending them their own policy. We have to be careful how we do it because we can insult them, but we do have to remind them of the rules for your industry. As an independent contractor, you can have a bunch of agents at one office location all listed on Google at the same time. You can't do that as a standard business when you have employees. Like a title office couldn't do that because they're employees of that title office. There's one Google business per location. You guys can have 300 in a single location, right? And they don't always know that. So they'll turn them down and say, nope, can't have this. There's already something there. And you have to send them their own policy to get it approved. And it's all worth it. right? This sounds like a hassle. It is, but it's worth it. It's the most important profile you will have online, and it's foundational to your business. Your other marketing, your farming, your referrals, your conversion rate across every activity you do will be impacted by this, right? So take the time and do it. And if you guys don't want to do it, have us do it. Somebody needs to, right? And so we're happy to do a 30-minute walkthrough of your brand, do a comparison in your market, look at the top agents there, see what needs to be changed. There's no obligation. You don't have to sign up for our service to do that. If you'd like, go ahead and you can email svteam@svconsulting.info or go to our website. It's on the top right corner, book a meeting, use Calendly. You can see what that's like. It's great. Pick a time on the calendar, it books it, and we'll be all set to go. We have meeting slots available this week and next. So we did block some time for you guys. If you want to take some time, do that 30-minute walkthrough, we're happy to do it. And because we have a relationship with your company, you actually get a significantly discounted rate. This is a lot less expensive than you would expect. So if you did want to have this done, but get it off your plate, let's have that conversation as well. We can take good care of you. So now I just want to open up. I know we're a little bit over, but if anybody has any questions, if you guys want to individually unmute, I will look. Looks like we have something on the chat. Geotag, somebody was asking about geotagging. I'll answer that really quick. So if you Google search geotagging, there'll be a bunch of software companies that come up. A bunch of them are free, some of them are paid, but you add an image, you just upload it into that site, you put the address of your office into that site, and then it embeds it and does all the geotagging for you, and then just gives you a photo that you export, and that's the one you load into the profile. It's a little tedious doing it 100 times, but again, it's a valuable part of the process. Other questions, if anybody wants to type or unmute?
I have a question about the address. So sure. With it being like, do you want to put your office address or no? Because there's so many agents within one office. Or like, how do you avoid not having the house come up with the home address if you use that, if you don't have like a physical individual office as a realtor?
Yeah, no, great question. And so having a bunch of people at one office address is okay. That isn't a negative. And actually, many times I prefer to have an office address if that office is in the location I focus on. So, okay. So if it's near my home or my farm or, the area that's like the #1 area for me, I like that. You can put a home address and have it public. It will show a pin on the map, but you can replace the photo. So it'll have your photo, not the house photo from the street. So that helps. But there's another thing that's called address suppression. And so in Google and on the citation syndication, you can click a button and it suppresses the address. So it hides it from the public. It's still there and it can be found if somebody really searches, but it's not going to show immediately on the profile. And the cool thing about suppressing the address is you can now pick counties or cities that you focus on in that map. Instead of showing where the place is in a street view, it'll actually show a circle on the area that you pick. So that city will be circled on a map, or that county. And so it actually gives a nice look and makes people see that, oh, you work in this area, not you're located in this city, right? So that sometimes helps. You do want to use the address though that is closest to the main area that you focus on, if possible. It helps with local search.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Other questions, thoughts, anything you're surprised about?
I have actually another question too. So I just recently made my Google profile and I'm pretty new to the business, so I'm still building everything. And I uploaded my picture, but then I couldn't figure out how to move it. So do you just go into like the settings and click cover photo? And
you assign it as the cover photo. Yeah. So you don't move it, but you just more click on the picture and make that, you assign it as that. And then you add your logo and then you assign the logo as the logo. And then it will show up in that position. It does take sometimes a few hours, sometimes even a few days for those changes to be reflected online. So don't worry if you don't see it instantly, give it a little bit of time.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Anybody else? Okay. I think we're there. So Kelly, any final things on your side, or are we all set?
Nope, I'm good if everybody on the call is good.
All right. Well, hopefully you guys found this valuable. I really appreciate you carving out your time. I know it's extremely valuable and limited. So thank you all. This was recorded. Again, I'm going to get that recording over to Kelly and she can share it with anyone who's interested and folks that weren't able to make it.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks for hosting. Yeah. Talk to you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.